Hey guys, welcome to Can I Kick It? We're back. I'm with Steve Alwine and Ethan Chambers from the current project
Charlie Shallow.
Charlie Shallow. So I knew I was going to flub
It's okay.
that
We
up.
just came up with the name yesterday.
Yeah. in the green room. Thanks for coming in, guys. I appreciate it. I've been dabbling in some of your music here recently. Loving the sound. I think it'd be good to start off with what are your beginning influences? I know you're a guitar player, you're a bass player, although you just blew me away with your 12 string. You said you haven't been playing guitar for 20 years.
Right.
Yeah, you're
Still learning.
Does that help? Does that help you play with him that you know guitar?
No, actually no, because me and Steve play guitar in such different ways that it almost feels like different instruments, you know? I've always kind of did the Les Claypool thing where I just kind of bang on the strings and make something happen, whereas Steve is a real guitar player who uses a pick and technique and, you know, all the things that really matter.
But, there's stuff that he plays that I can't even play.
Yeah.
You know?
You have a really signature sound. We were kind of talking about it earlier, but I don't know. Signature is probably the wrong word for it, but you have a distinct sound. You started off on electric. Like, how did you find your sound? That's a broad question, I know, but it's immediately what came to mind.
I think it's just, I played about 20 years now, so, you know, that's like a lifetime of different influences that just kind of seeped in. Like when I was younger, I used to really love like Led Zeppelin, a lot of classic rock stuff. So when I first started guitar, I played a lot more like that. And then as I got older, I got into more like alternative music and, you know, stuff like the Strokes, really like melodic rhythmic type stuff that didn't really, focus on a guitar solo.
Picking, kind of.
It's
all in the name of the Strokes. It took me a while to figure that out, but you got Albert Hammond and that other dude, I can never remember his name, but they're literally playing fast strokes and layering it over top of each other. And I think it like overwhelms your senses. You have a style like that. Like, you know what you're doing. How long ago would you say you found that sound? I know it's always evolving, probably.
Fairly recently. I would say in the last like 6-7 years, I started playing more of like an alternate picking type pattern or hybrid picking, I guess is the technical term.
Like out of 4/4.
Well, so basically what you're doing is you're playing with a pick, but you're also playing with your fingers.
Oh,
so
okay.
Like you mentioned the Strokes and their guitar playing, a lot of that is they're playing like different rhythms on top of each other.
Yeah.
So when you alternate between the pick and your fingers at the same time, you can kind of accomplish that. It's a really like polyrhythmic type thing. So yeah, I got into like the Strokes, Arctic Monkeys, Modest Mouse, a lot of those bands in the last 7-8 years, and kind of took my style in that direction.
Yeah, I had a friend, Tyler Carlisle, tell me, you can't have 3 bands you love the most or you'll start to sound like them. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. That was just kind of a clever thing that he said. You start to absorb it, but you also want to add your own voice to it. Ethan, your bass style it's saturated inside of his guitar. It's beautiful, man. I heard the new stuff just a minute ago. Do you guys have an overall aesthetic for this new album you're doing?
I think Steve could probably answer that better than I can because, you know...
It was sinister sounding. That's all I can think was sinister. And they had a song called Sleazeball.
Yeah, and Sleazeball, how that happened was Steve has a his very own way of creating music, and, I'll let him get into that later.
Okay.
But he sometimes brings me, demos or projects, and back 3, 4, 5 years ago, Steve would bring me some demos that, were, the beginning of him learning how to do it, so they sounded so different. And now, whenever he brings me a demo, 9 times out of 10, it's a completed song. It's like Mozart over here.
Yeah.
Like it's like a Salieri looking at like he's already got this completed. It's already finished. You know, like how did he get that? And
I need you to add a backing track to it.
Yeah, and a lot of times,
contrarily, do you bring him some that are done?
Absolutely, yeah. You know, I'll sit down and hammer something out on acoustic and say, Steve, you know, here, listen to this and see what it sounds like. And he's got such a musical mind that he pushes it in the direction that it needs to go. Because I'm more of a big picture, wide open kind of thing, and Steve kind of rails me in a little bit.
Right on.
And it fits perfectly between both of our contrasting styles and how we're both rhythmic. Is that, especially on a song like Sleazeball, where he takes the majority of that polyrhythms, it leaves it easy for me. I just got to fill in the bottom end part of
groove.
it. Yeah, and groove, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
and you guys have been playing together for quite a while. I mean, you both started playing music about the same time, right? Did you go to school together?
No, we grew up in different towns. I'm from Washington, Indiana. And
how old are you?
I'm 37.
Okay, yeah, I'm 35, and you're 34, right?
33.
33. And how did you guys meet?
Funny story. So I used to work at Vance Music Center in Bloomington.
Yeah, I know.
I worked there for probably 5 years. I love that. It's probably the best job I've ever had. But one day I was extremely bored in the downstairs area, and I started hearing this crazy Les Claypool kind of slapping coming from the higher level where all the electric instruments are. I was like, what the fuck is that? Like, that's awesome. Because usually, you know, you get like teenagers in there, like trying to play like Stairway to Heaven or something.
Always.
You get real sick of that. So when someone's actually good, you're like, oh my God.
Oh, hey,
like, so I went upstairs. So I'm like slapping away on I think it was like a Squire. And it was incredible. So I introduced myself, and I was in a band at the time, and but I was like, dude, we should jam sometime.
You were like, fuck those guys.
Yeah, we've been buddies ever since.
Right on.
It didn't take much. You know, I was a brand new guy in Bloomington, too. I think it was my second day in town.
You could use a friend,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You know, I had a rough time there for a while figuring out who I was, and moved to Bloomington, and just out of nowhere, Steve showed up, and we jammed 1 or 2 times and realized we both pretty much like all the same things. And
so how long after that did you guys start playing out shows and stuff?
Whenever I first met Steve, he had a band called Apollo Quad, and they were already playing about a bunch of shows. They've had a couple different lines up, and I think they lost a bass player for whatever reason, and you know, Steve and I had just met, and he asked me if I wanted to join, and I was doing nothing else at the time, and said, oh, hell yeah, let's do it.
Did you slide right into that dynamic? Or?
I did, yeah. I think we had...
Do you think he changed it when he got in? Did he change?
A little bit, yeah.
Good.
A little bit.
Yeah. I always worry about that when somebody loses a bandmate, and then they bring in a filler guy, and there's expectations there, you know, that kind of screw it up. But now, Apollo Quad only had, 4 songs altogether?
They had a couple albums, actually.
Yeah, we
had
3 albums, and Ethan's on the 3rd album.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. That music was unusual for this area and very good. I mean, obviously the obvious comparison would be Rage Against the Machine. Mm-hmm, it was like conscious hip hop over electric guitar, bass, like real authentic instruments. So that was really cool. Check out Apollo Quad on Spotify and other. I didn't find it on YouTube, but anyway, what are you guys heading towards now? What would you call your sound? Let's get back to that first question I kind of asked you.
That's a really good question. I think
still figuring it out.
Well, I think we definitely have our sound, and like he said earlier, you know, when I send something to the guys, like it's I want it to be 85% there.
Yeah.
I want it to be a song. Like when we first started making music and I was a lot younger, I used to write guitar riffs, and now I just write entire songs. Like I don't want to just, here's a guitar riff, guys, you know, because when you do that, you kind of, it just, it's so limiting, you know, and then
also too open. In a way, right?
You lose control of it so fast, you know. You have something in your mind, it's going to go a direction, and it doesn't.
In a band, you need leaders sometimes. Whether that doesn't mean anybody's more valuable or anything, but yeah, you need someone to kind of take the reins a little bit and kind of build parameters. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting.
We really work well on that too because we both take on that role. You know, it's not.
Yeah.
if there's difficult conversations to be had,
you alternate.
We just kind of read each other and see who we understand when someone needs to say something and step up. You know?
Yeah.
And that just also goes because, we're such good friends that, it's easy for us to fall into that, like, it's almost like we know what each other's thinking before we kind of do it, Usually whenever we come out of a practice or a show, if something that we didn't like, it's almost always first thing out of both of our mouths. Like, we already know what it is.
Yeah.
As soon as it's over, we're like, oh, well, that was stupid. What happened there? And like...
laugh it off.
Yeah, of course. But also, we don't try to force ourselves into anything, Like,
if it doesn't feel right.
Steve has an idea. Like, we've had so many songs that we've dumped because they just didn't feel it,
And that you might end up using that later.
You never know.
Yeah, that's cool. You got like a song
out,
bank to harvest from. Yeah.
That, and if we're really desperate on a live show, I can be like, Steve, play Nightmare. And then they boo us off stage because we haven't played it in 3 years. Yeah.
Somebody told me, if you're ever starting to sound like shit, just turn it up. Yeah. I think it was Memory Motel, one of those guys, probably Hatcher. But yeah, it's been said also on the podcast plenty of times that finding a good band's a lot like a relationship in a lot of weird ways. And it seems like the way that you guys met is much different. And me and you kind of talked about this earlier, is much different than putting out an ad for like a drummer or, there's a sort of serendipity to it a little bit. Do you guys feel like your music is channeled to some degree? This is kind of an idea I've been playing with. You ever have moments where you're in a sort of flow state with your guitar sounds? The songs you guys showed me were so dynamic. Like it's not just verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, bridge, or what, there's so much dynamic in it. And I just wonder, how long does it come out right away, or do you have to sit down and map it out on paper?
It's a great question because
I hope so.
It's because we've had a couple songs that we've banged our heads against the wall, like Charlie Shallow. One of our first songs that we wrote, we had a drummer that just couldn't pick up on this one spot that we were trying to tell him, and we'd had probably 10 practices, and it just felt like it wasn't coming together. Mm-hmm. And then finally Steve got a hold or cross to him, like, man, you got to play the stops on this. And as soon as he did, the song turned into one of the best songs we've ever done. So we're pretty persistent when it comes to things, but we're also...
We got a dog barking somewhere. Wow, that's crazy. Is she okay? Hey, we're going to go to a break. Make sure this lady isn't dying. We'll be right back, guys. Hey, guys, welcome back. Sorry about that. The neighbors were getting a little rowdy. We'll just hop right back into it, fellas. Sorry about that. We were talking about you guys as on stage, like, nonverbal communication. I'm always curious about that, like cues and signatures. What are some of your cues to each other on stage?
Well, being the singer, a lot of times, I don't have a whole lot of opportunities to look around, but the ones that I do in between vocal lines, I usually just kind of check around, see what everybody's doing. And I can always tell if it's a good show looking at what they're doing,
Crowd reading.
Yeah.
That's an art, right?
Oh, it certainly is. I can look back at the drummer, and if he looks like he's lost, maybe I can try to get his attention and kind of bring him back into it. But,
on time.
Yeah. But me and Steve have the type of connection up there that we can kind of just look at each other and kind of know exactly what's coming next,
Yeah.
That's crucial.
It's psychic.
I would think, yeah.
And the biggest actually issue of it is, and the problem is that Steve will like rip out some nasty solo, and I have to like stop myself from paying attention to what he's doing. Like I still got to play bass and sing and stuff. So like it's easy to get lost in that moment. So, I appreciate that we have the level of musicianship around that we can do. That's
extraordinary. It translates onto your recordings as well. The chemistry. That was one of the things I was thinking, listening to that. Do you let him go on a solo, or not let him, but you know what I mean? I mean, you can just tell he's on a heater and you just let him play it out?
I think context is pretty important.
Yeah.
If we're at a bar show or everybody's drinking and having a blast, then, it's like Steve, let it rip. But if we're at a short showcase, 4 or 5 songs, we're professional guys, and we know the cues. We know how many bars each solo takes. But, there's those moments where it's just like, come on, go get them.
I have this kind of crazy theory that kind of goes with that like, when you spend enough time with somebody and they also have like this sort of common denominator with you, even if it's unnameable, you sort of sync up with them like women do when they spend time together and they get the same period. It's something similar to that. It's like this subconscious like tap into something heavy. So that's pretty cool. I've seen a lot of evidence for that, and especially in art, you know, when people are working together. Is there anybody like musician wise that you guys sort of try to emulate on stage or used to, like influences? You know, what are some of your favorite influences? Do you like to be like Jimmy Page sometimes and like wear tight pants?
At one point, yeah.
Growing out of it.
When I started guitar, man, I listened to Led Zeppelin so much, and I would
ultimate rock band, dude.
I'd skip school and go home and throw on Led Zeppelin and like. I wanted to be Jimmy Page so bad, man.
Throwing your life away with drugs and rock and roll.
Yeah, man, it's terrible. It's terrible.
And you know, for me, I got so much influence from the '90s slap bassers. You know, like Flea. I wanted to be like Flea. You know, because it just seemed like the coolest thing you could ever do on a bass guitar.
Those dudes were wild on stage. Yeah.
And just like Steve said, as I got older, I realized that a lot of that is just flash and sizzle. You know, and I'd rather have something that, you know, means something a little bit to me.
That's true. There's a balance between showmanship and quality.
Yeah, we had a friend, Sonny, in Minneapolis, who used to call it musical masturbation, where it's a self-serving thing. You're up there stoking your own ego instead of trying to make a beautiful thing together with your friends.
I heard a cool quote the other day that seems applicable here. It's a bad day for the ego is a good day for the soul.
Dang.
I kind of hung on to that. Yeah. But it's still good to have fun, though.
It's important to be humble, though. You know, you can't come out there thinking you're the biggest swinging dick around, because there's always a bigger one.
You'll get humbled. Yeah. Life will humble you, dude. Flashback. No. But, Steve, let's ask you, and then I'll ask Ethan. What are you listening to these days? What's something you want to tell the audience about, people watching that they probably don't know about that they need to get into?
Oh, good question.
A lot of stuff going on right now.
I try to listen to so much. Like I try to really branch out in genres. So for like, are you talking like specific artists or?
Yeah, like, artists. Maybe it's just one song. I mean, we could also talk about like genres. Like what genres are really hitting you right now and why? That's a good question, actually.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, I'm really into like synthy alternative pop kind of stuff.
Okay. Like MGMT kind of stuff?
Yeah, I like MGMT. Yeah. Alexandra Savior is probably my favorite vocalist at the moment. A lot of people haven't heard her, but the Alex Turner from the Arctic Monkeys, he produced her first album. So she's got 2 albums. I love those. Who else?
You got me into Fantagram and Big Grams.
Yeah, Fantagram.
I love Fantagram.
That Cruel World song.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I saw them live in Minneapolis.
Yeah, I've seen their live shows on YouTube or whatever, and
they're great, man.
They were like an Ohio university. What is it? They're from Ohio, one of the big universities, and they were like an art prog rock group. Well, not even rock. Like synthwave stuff.
Progressive pop.
Man, they just get underplayed for some reason. I guess it's not for everybody.
Right.
And
I love it.
I always thought it was strange that women are obviously better singers overall. I mean, it's subjective, but think about it. You know more male singers than female. I mean, why are there more men in music? I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just a crazy...
Speaks to society in general.
Yeah, it might.
The men usually have a little bit of the preferential treatment when it comes to art and,
maybe so.
I mean, you think of like best actors and things like that, and the best actress maybe wasn't as glossed over, Yeah.
It's
just part of our society, but...
Do you prefer, Steve, do you prefer female singers? Just for personal, listening?
I definitely do. I think it depends on the genre.
I figured since you were into pop that maybe that was the case,
Well, yeah. Pop music, female singers for sure.
Because I'm into Queens of the Stone Age right now, like heavily, still. Yeah.
We have been for like 12 years.
That's one of our biggest.
They're just so heavy. I don't know how else to describe it. It's so. so deep. I was just listening to it last night and showing a friend. What is that song called? You think I ain't worth $1, but I feel like $1 million.
Yeah.
And I'm showing her, and we're cruising down the highway, just rolling. Just boom, and I felt like Beavis and Butthead.
Songs for the Deaf is like one of the heaviest albums of all time.
So they have that one song on the album that I've never heard for some reason, but I heard it the other day, where it's actually a song for the deaf. It's like the bass and the guitar, but they're played really like low tones so that you can feel it off of an amp. Have you heard that?
I believe that.
Oh, check it out. It's called Actual Songs for the Deaf.
But
yeah, and it's by them. They just did it. Check that out.
Well, your question to Steve about a female singer rings funny in our band specifically because whenever Steve and I first started, I was a bass player. I wasn't a singer. I wasn't a front man. And we always thought we wanted a female singer.
Yeah.
And we looked and tried, and it never happened. So eventually, I was just like, "Well, fuck it, I'm going to sing, I guess."
Yeah.
For good or for bad.
I'm glad you did.
Me too. Yeah. I am too. I appreciate that. It's just, it took me a really long time to be okay with my voice and to sing with gusto.
Yeah.
Because you got to not be afraid. Because somebody's.
I'm also a singer. That's
yeah.
what I do better than anything, I would say. Not to toot my own horn, but it took me a while to find my voice. Like, I remember the moment when I realized where I'm at. Like, I don't know what soprano and alto and all that stuff means really, like on a mechanical level, but there was this moment where I was like, there it is. That's my sound. That's where I feel at home when I'm singing.
Yeah, I had that exact same moment.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do.
Yeah, you really have to, I think it's like a journey of self-understanding too, to really be able to be as honest with yourself to say, this is my voice and this is what it sounds like.
Yeah, it was like I unlocked some secret part of myself. I mean, playing guitar also, since we were talking about your style and your bass style even, there had to be like that unlocking moment. And then you also mentioned with gusto, which that's a big part of it. Like, there's a confidence that comes with really rocking out. I mean, you got to have it. You have to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Has there been times on the stage where you guys just sort of fell apart and had a oh shit moment?
I think so. We've had some.
A long time ago, probably.
Yeah, we've never really had, at least as far as I can remember, a moment where it was like we weren't prepared.
Right.
It was it was more of act of gods. Like, we were playing a show in Minneapolis with Apollo Quad, and we're going on stage, I'm tuning my bass, and as I walk up, my truss rod breaks in my bass.
Oh, no.
And I didn't bring my backup because I'm an idiot. Mm-hmm. And luckily, the band playing before us, the specialists, they let me use their bass, and we got to do the show. But it's just one of those things that, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I learned that lesson.
Have a backup at every show, no matter what.
I did pole vault for my high school track team, and I was like the stoner idiot on the team, but I love pole vault. And I got ripped and didn't bring my pole. So we get to the track meet, and this girl let me use hers, and it wasn't the right size. Yeah.
I mean, how do you even do that? Aren't they like 12 feet long? You got to bring it in a van.
It's really long, and you have to put it in the aisle between the bus seats. I don't know. I didn't mean to talk about my track experience, but
hey, it all lines up with what we're talking about.
I miss doing pole vault. Now, what do you guys do outside of music?
I'm a family man. I work and have a family, and that's pretty much it. I'd like to spend more time doing other things, but I'm happy doing what I'm doing now.
You got to provide,
especially having the outlet that we have to be able to play. And
that's
it may not be as much as I want, but it's a form of therapy for me.
Well, I imagine later in life you'll have more than enough time. When kids grow up and move off, you'll be able to do some other things. What do you do, Steve? Do you have any hobbies or anything?
Music and working. That's pretty much it, man. I mean, as far as he and I go, I mean, we probably spend more time talking about sports than music. Like, we're both big Colts fans, big IU basketball fans.
And that just goes to show that we were, kind of friends first, and music is just something that we have in common. Yeah. But it also happens to be one of the things that we probably cherish most,
It's like it established you guys before the music even taken off. Mm-hmm. So
even though it was part of our introduction and friendship was music, that's the we probably wouldn't have been introduced otherwise. But it's so weird because the world's a small place that he actually graduated with my wife.
Whoa!
And he knew her for years, and I didn't know that. And then one day I told her, oh yeah, my buddy Steve, and she's, Steve who? And I tell her, and she's like, holy shit, man. We literally graduated at the same high school in the same class.
Small world.
Yeah.
Seems like confirmation.
So we had connections before that. We just didn't even really know.
Yeah. Well, 6 degrees. I don't know if you're
right there, 6 degrees separation. Yeah.
Kevin Bacon or whatever. I don't know. Do you guys have any goals or aspirations towards any other types of music down the road? Like maybe you got something in the back you've been working on, Steve or Ethan?
Yeah. I'm very well aware that I like pop music probably more than the rest of the guys.
Why do you think you like it so much? Like
to be honest with you, like when I left Apollo Quad, I think it was probably 2014. I was just so jaded with music in general, and why that band didn't work, and I had put so much of my heart into it, and it just didn't work, and I was pissed, and so
bitter.
I quit playing guitar for like a year, probably about a year. And when I got back into it, inevitably, I mean, it was always going to happen.
It's like gravity. Yeah.
When I finally picked it back up and started playing music again, I had a couple buddies in Minneapolis that had introduced me. They were also musicians, and they had introduced me to some great music that I had never heard before. So I was already kind of branching out, and then obviously with the old band not working, I just took like a couple months and I listened to nothing but like the poppiest stuff.
Nothing thought provoking.
I mean, I'm talking
music.
Pure serotonin.
Lady Gaga, Rihanna, that kind of stuff. I just listened to nothing but that. And so when I got back into music, that's when I really started. I stopped writing, the guitar riffs and started writing like full songs. Like I want it to have that catchiness where if somebody enjoys it, they can hum along. That's important to me. It's got to be memorable. You got to be able to hum it, and
There's so many different reasons I've learned through this podcast why people write and listen to music. Like, I spent a lot of years trying to find some kind of answers to life through art, and I think that was wrong. But it still was a learning process, and I appreciate music because of that. But now it's an expression. That's basically why I do it. That's why I sing and listen. It helps me understand the world a little better and other people's perspectives. Which is also why I do this podcast, to understand other people's perspective. We're all just sharing this world, and we're all just pieces of it. And we don't make sense without each other. Music's just another language to connect us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Did we ask you what your influences were? I don't think we got to, did we?
Yeah. I got to start off saying my dad, and he was...
Shout out to your old man.
Yeah, Jeff Chambers, the Conscious Effort Band. They were one of the incipients for...
He wrote a song for John Lennon. Really cool.
He's...
Reminded me of Neil Young a little bit.
And... he kind of just showed me the love for music. He was always playing Frank Zappa and Steely Dan and Hank Williams, and it just this giant Jerry Jeff Walker, this huge array of different sounds that just got me to really appreciate it. I had that base knowledge of all things music through him. But after him, what I'm listening to now, because like Steve says, it's all evolved. I was a punk when I was in high school. I loved Rancid, and I loved The Clash. And
Leftover Crack.
Yeah, absolutely, man. One of my favorite bands is The Slackers. They're like a dub reggae band. And
right on.
But these days, I'm like into this new soul kind of a sound, kind of a retro sound. Guys like Nick Waterhouse and J.D. McPherson. There's a guy who's just criminally underrated that people don't know. His name's Matt Duncan. Maybe it's because he has a boring name. But he creates just beautiful, easy listening music. And as I've gotten older, I've gotten softer. So as Steve could attest to, and you guys and all of us could, there's no real set vein of influences. It all comes together to blend what you think and how you feel about music.
Do you have any thing you want to try later on when you guys are done with this album? Just like something, he says pop, Are you gonna roll with him on that train? I mean,
yeah, do you know what? I'm gonna roll with Stevie on whatever he brings to the table, and I assume he'll do the same for me because
you're friends.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a big country influence too that Steve doesn't share, country, just like pop country.
You guys be the next Keith Urban.
We're definitely not taking those two elements and combining them because I wouldn't be able to live with myself.
There's already a lot of that out there.
Yeah,
so.
They stabbed it and just gutted it. Yeah, I don't know. I hate being bitter because if people enjoy it, cool.
Yeah. You know, but also fuck those people because it's just god awful terrible music. And
then I found out that Keith Urban's actually a great guitar player.
Oh, he's an amazing musician. I didn't know that.
Truly incredible.
Same with like guys like Brad Paisley. You know, he's
right.
He's a juggernaut, but his music might be terrible. But
I mean, it feels like they're sitting in a boardroom somewhere coming up with they are probably. Sturgill Simpson was always talking about that.
Makes me nauseous. He's great.
We just got to keep doing our thing and keep promoting what you love and hopefully.
Absolutely.
Yeah, something like that.
I think for the longest time for me, I always thought about songwriting in the way of, what I'm trying to tell the world, what I want the people that are listening to this to understand.
Yeah.
And as I've gotten older, it's what I'm trying to tell myself. It's, what I'm trying to escape from subconsciously and put out there. But then I think about songs like Sleazeball, which are about con artist and date rape, and it's like, what does that say about me and the inside? Huh. For me, it says that it's just a reflection of the world that we live in, you know?
Yeah.
And that's kind
of... A story.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's just a story.
It's things that I've seen in life that, maybe I made up some of them too, but it's...
Man, there's almost more truth in fiction sometimes.
It really is,
Yeah, I read a lot or I do audiobooks, and it's amazing how these lessons seem to come out of songs and books, and they apply to my life directly. It's probably just patterns that I'm lining up, but it's crucial. As a species, as a human species, we need stories to communicate because a lot of stuff gets forgotten, honestly, from the day to day, and it's remembered through songs and quotes. Yeah, so you guys are doing a great service to humanity by making good music. What was that? I know that's kind of highfalutin, but
appreciate that.
What was the Copper King song about?
Copper King was one that I struggled with the lyrics for a long time because I didn't understand what I was trying to talk about.
Yeah, you had a feeling, though.
Yeah, I had a feeling about what I wanted it to be, and honestly, it's just my perspective on the flaws in man. That we're never going to be happy until we're isolated and secure in our own little group instead of encouraging a whole world of, safety and security.
Oh, right.
Basically that, man will do what's best for them and their clan right in that moment.
Yeah. We're tribal as hell.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, we haven't broken those shackles of a cave-dwelling, society. As much as we like to act like we have.
Yeah, there's just... When you get, remember Men in Black? This is crazy, but Will Smith said, Tommy Lee said to Will Smith, he said, people alone are incredibly intelligent and eloquent, but when man gets in groups, he's stupid, and it's just a matter of, it's individualism versus universal ethics. Like, it's important we have individuals because individuals can broaden our horizons. Like, if an individual is extremely an outlier, like for me, I've always been kind of a fucking black sheep everywhere I go. The more I push boundaries and do things that people consider taboo or different, the more I know what works that most people haven't thought of. And I think that's why we appreciate art and music so much, because it's like... it's experimental,
It pushes us as a society.
We need individualism. Yeah. We also need cohesiveness.
For sure.
And music brings both of those, actually.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't have the Mona Lisa without the individual, and you couldn't have the Golden Gate Bridge without humanity, It's like
there you go. Great.
You got to have both to be able to make it work. Yeah. But that's why it's important for, all of us just to try to be kind to each other, True. Like the world's a big, scary, fucked up place, and... we deal with it by writing rock and roll songs, and some people don't have that outlet. So I think it's important for people sometimes just get stuff off their chest, and that's kind of what music really is.
That's why I write like poetry and stuff. I don't really share a lot of it, but a lot of times those poems turn into music. Yeah, it's cool, or the theme anyway.
I mean, that's like the origin of music,
Yeah. So are you guys playing out anytime soon, like out and about? I know you got Bloomington shows all the time, right?
Yeah, we've had a couple more on deck recently. We've played a lot of shows out at this awesome venue in Spencer, Indiana called Stable Studios.
Yeah, I meant to ask you about that. I know that Alex guy from down there. I met him at Hyperion years
Oh, yeah, they used
ago.
to hold Hyperion there, and it's just a beautiful venue out in the middle of the woods.
Gorgeous.
And, and it's just a lot of fun. And, they do a open jam the first Friday of the month during the winter and spring. So we played it a couple times and they really dug us. So they asked us to be the house band this upcoming Friday on the 7th. So that means we're going to come and have about an hour of music, hang around, see what's going on after that.
Right. I hope we can get the podcast out before that, but we never know. But April 7th, Friday, I might try to get down there.
Yeah, you should, man.
That'd be cool. Is there an admittance fee? Or?
I think they ask for like a small donation because they have food and it's like an all-inclusive place.
I'm with that.
I think it's $5 or $10.
I'm with it. Yeah. I'll give them 20.
There's some great bands.
Spencer's just a beautiful area.
Oh yeah.
Period.
And the guy that runs it and owns it, his name's Chris Kinnick, and he's been an important guy for me because my father-in-law lived with him for a while. He was a great musician and they actually have an amphitheater, an outdoor amphitheater named after my father-in-law, the Doug Hanscom Amphitheater. And he was just one of those guys that was taken a little too soon. So it's like a very personal connection for me out there, knowing that, I knew this man that they named this place after, and he was a great human being and a hell of a keyboard player. So it really makes it more special for me.
Yeah, we have this kid named Evan Twitty, or we did. Amazing guitar player, was taken in a car wreck when he was about 17. Or 18, I might have that wrong, but they made a scholarship in his name, and First City Music Fest made that scholarship dedicated to his name, so all the extra funds go towards a scholarship in his name.
That's awesome.
And that's awesome.
Talk about legacy.
Yeah. And I don't know. What do you guys think about music when it comes to love? Do you like love songs? I've been thinking about this lately, just in my own personal time. Like sometimes it's like, shut up about that. Everybody sings about it. But when it's done in the right way, if you like pop music, that's mostly what it's about, right?
I would say so. Yeah. I like it when it's a little more nuanced, a little more subtle. I don't like it when it's,
direct.
What am I trying to think of?
You don't want to be smacked in the face by it.
No.
But I'm the opposite. You see, I especially when I was a young kid, those love songs like just touched me. I wanted something like that so bad. I don't know why.
It kind of sets you up for a false idea.
Absolutely.
Or at least me,
there's a couple Boyz II Men song where I would just be like, I felt so connected to, just like, I feel the Casey and JoJo song, all my life. I remember being at the 7th grade dance. This has just never happened to me. But I was.
And if you guys ever want to write cheesy love songs, I'll sing for you.
Hey, you got to deal with that one. We've actually been talking about writing slower songs.
Right
so yeah.
Well, it's like one of my favorite groups is My Morning Jacket, and they're a hard driving rock band. But then they came out with this album. Oh God, I can't remember the name of it. It was something really bizarre, but it was basically like Prince. That's what it reminded me of. Prince, it was just real groovy and
high praise.
I love Prince.
I think he should have written some harder stuff, but that's just me.
Well,
I didn't know the guy.
There's a ton of unreleased stuff.
Oh, really?
In his studio, he, I think it's called Paisley Park. There's supposedly like this vault of stuff that he just
That's
never
where you guys were at, right? Where
Minneapolis.
I was actually, when he passed away, I was living there, and he meant so much to that city. So
he did a lot for that city.
The night after he passed, they lit up most of the skyscrapers in purple.
Wow.
It's like one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Like a great tribute to him.
He's just he was such a phenomenal guitar player and unabashedly not afraid to be himself.
Absolutely. That was the most impressive thing
the most.
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't really get into his music. Like it just doesn't resonate, I guess, with me, but you can't deny that. All right, man. Well, we've got a couple minutes left. Is there anything you guys want to say before we do?
I think I'd be amiss without name dropping our other bandmates.
I apologize.
It's all good. Joel Norris is our drummer. You guys all know Joel, and
coolest juggalo I know.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Yeah, no one rocks a mullet like him or races minivans. But he's just an awesome drummer and just even a great guy. So we're super lucky to have him. And
he's I call him a human metronome.
Yeah,
because he is so on point, and when you have that backing you, you know what you're gonna get. Yeah. So you're able to then take it in any kind of direction that you want because he's going to be solid.
It gives us a huge amount of confidence.
Yeah. One misstep on drums will break the spell.
Absolutely.
Music is the spell when you're playing a song.
I don't think he's ever done that.
I realize that when I'm playing guitar, I'm I hit one, I'll be into it, and then I'll mess up one little thing, and it just leaks out.
And then Tom
Miller.
I mean, you got to see him in person play.
Okay, I'm going to come see you guys.
He's just an animal, man.
I've never met anybody more musically inclined than this guy.
Yeah, he's real jazzy, but I'll walk into the practice space and he's down there playing some N64
the Chrono Trigger
theme song to a video game, and he's just so insanely talented.
He's just added such a different dynamic to our band that has made it so much more satisfying for us and probably satisfying for the listener because Steve and I are pretty hard rocking guys, and to have someone there with that encyclopedia music knowledge that has this jazz influence to us, it really just kind of
tone bank
gives us this beautiful flavor that we just so proud of.
All right, man. Well, we're out of time, guys, but it's been a real pleasure getting to know you. I'm looking forward to seeing you play soon, and we will meet and make some more shows happen.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks for having us, guys. Yep. This has been great. This is
all right, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time. Peace. Thanks for kicking it.